Doing a family cutoff might be the hardest thing an individual would do in this life. But if they're cutting themselves off from a family system that is highly abusive and toxic and doesn't see them, the cutoff might be the most healing and empowering thing that they ever do in their life. If you're new to me, welcome. My name is Patrick Tian, LICSW. I am a childhood trauma specialist. I work with adults who have been through abuse and childhood trauma, and I help people recover from the toxic family system. So, the cutoff, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. I want you guys to gauge and sort of learn from the video about whether to do a cutoff is warranted. Some people can handle their family system on some level, and some people just really need the space and time in order to heal, and then maybe once that's done, maybe get back into the family system with better boundaries, with a better sense of their truth. And that's really what the video is all about. As a side note, for those of you who are watching from different countries and different cultures, I know that this concept for some of those countries might be incredibly taboo. And I just want to let it know that I see you, I understand, and here in the West, it's probably more socially acceptable to do a family cutoff, but in other countries, that's not the case, and I just want to let you guys know I get it. The best case scenario might just simply be to get some safety and distance whenever it's possible. So let's get into the video, and at the end of the video, there's some simple directions about my suggestions on how to do a cutoff, and here goes. How to do a family cutoff. Regardless of your situation, chances are your family is toxic and you get sucked in. This will leave you feeling like you're not seen, heard, or loved. And the purpose of this video is to look at the fact that staying in this system might prevent you from healing and growing. Here are some typical toxic family dynamics or rules. The first is that the family caters to one or two abusive, toxic members. Their needs come first. The second is that the family is upside down. This means that the children are the resource, not the parents. Whether you're 12, 28, or 40, you do most of the adult work than your parents do. The third piece is deviating from supporting these people is seen as betraying, selfish, dumb, shameful, entitled, and even taboo. And lastly, doing what is best for you results in being gaslit into thinking you're burdening the family system. Let's pause for a minute and think about the idea of love. My favorite definition of love is wanting the person to be free and happy. My second favorite definition, which is what I learned in my own therapy process, was that love is behavior. And then we think about these concepts and plug them into our own family system. How does your family love you? Does your family want you to be independent versus enmeshed? Do they want you to feel supported versus being indebted to them? Do they know who you are versus their story about you? If you feel more of the left side of the screen, you might feel like you're loved by your family system. And if you're more on the right side of the screen, you might actually feel like you're a hostage to your family system. If this sounds familiar, here are some things that you might struggle with outside of your family system. You might experience a deep loneliness and sadness about not having a somewhat normal family system. This is grief. It might come up when you witness a friend having a good exchange with a parent, a sad occasion, a sad movie, where you're stricken with a deep sadness and grief and you don't quite know why it's there. This is a clue about your family system. You might also experience significant dysfunctional relationship patterns, where there's a pattern of you chasing or choosing unavailable people that mirror our family of origin. We all find people that replicate our family system in some way and try to fix things through that person, but it never works and it's really hard. You may also experience wrestling with yourself over who was at fault during conflict in your current relationships. This is an internal battle of flip-flopping between questions like, am I asking too much? Am I selfish? Are they doing their best? Am I? This harkens back to how we dealt with our families in childhood of figuring out whether it was them or us. Sometimes we get clarity on our outside of the family issues when we actually go back into our family system and we tend to get clobbered by them. What I mean by that is our family can betray our trust in a huge way. They can take advantage of us with our time, with our money, with our resources. They will actually focus on others when you need them the most, such as people even outside the family. They can abandon you at the worst time possible. They will blame and shame you about a big problem rather than help you with it. And most importantly, they might sabotage something that was really important to you. A wedding, a graduation, something. This leaves us feeling devastated and stuck, hence the term clobbered. Time will go on and we will forget this experience, and we have to go back into the family fold in some way, with the hope that maybe things will be different. This is like a forgetful optimism. This is a pattern, and when we are really locked into this pattern, most likely we are delaying healing and empowerment, and it might be time to actually do a family cutoff. So I want you guys to think about that. You could tell from my other videos that I'm all about patterns. You just got clobbered, time goes on, there's a family invite for some kind of family event, or you're back into the fold of your family. Maybe you get hopeful and you get clobbered and around and around. I had a client who did my long-term group therapy for childhood trauma. They struggled throughout the whole course of the group. Pragmatically, they knew that one of their parents had a personality disorder, but there was such a huge part of them that just couldn't get it, or sort of they couldn't really kind of believe that that was true, and they kept going into it with this personality disordered parent, thinking there'd be a different result and they would get clobbered every time. And in like the last 10 months of that group, they finally decided to do a cutoff, and they sent a formal letter and they did the whole thing, and they started thriving. They really started becoming more empowered. They were less conflict avoidant. They were a lot more emotionally sober. It was amazing. So there's a lot of shifts that can happen with a cutoff when you're ready. How to do a formal cutoff. In my world, there's actually sort of two types. There's a cutoff from the whole family system, or there's a cutoff from one or two individuals, most likely the parents within that system. By formal, I mean telling the family or family members that you're doing a cutoff. In the work that I do, it's usually done by sending a short letter that covers why you're doing a cutoff, how long the cutoff will last, and 3, what are your boundaries around communication? Here's what I mean. The why might look like, hello, our family or this dynamic is abusive and toxic. We are at an impasse. I am cutting myself off from you in order to get space and heal. How long? That might look like, when and if I am ready to reestablish a connection, I will be reaching out to you. Or, I'm taking approximately 1.5 years to work on myself, or you don't mention a time frame at all. And lastly, the boundaries might look like, I will not be responding to communication from you. Do not respond or contact me. I will only be responding to contact involving medical emergencies of another family member. Why specifically send a letter? I feel like a letter is one-way communication. I would avoid a back and forth with your family on this cutoff. The second part is, it is a more powerful statement. There's just something about it that is more powerful. 3, it's more for you than it actually is for them. It's a declaration of your sovereignty and truth. So my answer to that question is a big no. And I know that that sounds goofy, like in a way many of you might be struggling with, like, they have to know, which was actually the case of me when I did my own family cutoff. I was just caught in a place of they must be able to get it. And like that client that I mentioned earlier, we kind of have some magical thinking about our family's ability to understand why they do the things they do. Our families, if they're abusive and toxic, most likely they are highly unconscious, and they only see you as an adversary when you do something like this. So don't create a huge list informing them of why you're doing a cutoff just to justify yourself in doing it. If you're going to do it, keep it short and sweet. And it's actually, I think it's healthier to kind of do it that way rather than try to battle with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. And here are some things that you can expect that your family will respond after you send a letter like this. And I'm probably going to contradict everything or upset the apple cart, but here goes. They're not going to get it. They are not going to understand why you're doing this. So try to let go of that expectation. They are also probably going to cross that boundary in some way that you're setting, and just to maybe accept it, but don't engage with it. That boundary is just as much for you as it is for them. And also expect probably some emotional pull and some fallout from this. This is a big deal. This is highly uncomfortable. And the best thing that you can do is get support around this from a therapist that gets this, or a friend that gets this. I know that that's hard, but most people don't get this. This is a thing that is culturally taboo. So we all have friends. If we were going to explain this to them or something like that, you're going to get a lot of that but they're your family. So that is sort of something to avoid. Those friends don't have to kind of get it either, but please find somebody who does understand what this process is like, or what you're going through, or why you're doing it. So I hope this video was helpful. I will see you guys next time. I will try to add more information in the description of the video. Please leave a comment if this resonated with you or if you've been through this yourself, and I will see you next time. Take care.